I work at InfluenceMap. I was really fortunate to sort of get a job a couple of months after finishing my master's. So InfluenceMap is an independent climate risk think tank that was founded in 2015, and we are based in London, and we have offices also in New York and Tokyo. And what we do is we provide data analysis on how business and finance are affecting the climate crisis. And within that, we sort of have two main areas of focus. The first is corporate policy engagement metrics, which we call LobbyMap. And what we do there is we have a world-leading platform that measures how the corporate sector is influencing climate policy globally. And along with this, we also have a program called FinanceMap that is a set of data tools which examines how financial institutions are impacting climate. And basically what we try and do is we work extensively with financial institutions, corporations, NGOs and the media that really have a demand for our work and make use of our research. So my role is, so I joined about 5 months ago, and I work as an analyst in the Europe team. And here I track and analyze lobbying activities of corporations and trade associations on climate policy. As Lorenzo said, I have a particular focus, which is the gas sector and utilities within the European Union. So what I'll do is I'll show a really short video about what we do and then go in a bit more detail.
There's no denying that we're in a climate emergency. So why aren't the world's governments acting? What's causing them to stall on creating the vital policies and regulations we need to deal with the crisis? Despite many parts of the corporate sector publicly claiming their support for the Paris Agreement, behind the scenes, they continue to delay and block government action on the climate. Away from the spotlight, corporations are using lobbyists and trade associations to prevent change by convincing governments that Paris-aligned policies will harm the global economy. These practices need to be exposed and those responsible held to account, which is where InfluenceMap comes in. Established on the eve of the 2015 Paris Agreement, we are an independent think tank that provides objective data and evidence-based analysis on how business and finance are affecting the climate crisis. This real-world, real-time picture of corporate behavior takes the form of a database which continually tracks over 300 corporations and 150 lobbying groups globally. In short, we exist to lift the lid on lobbying and empower positive actors to drive meaningful change. The media and campaign groups use our newsworthy facts to bring the debate into the public arena and rally support for action. The investors funding these corporations use our work to see which industry associations are Paris-aligned. And we help policymakers to navigate the complex lobbying landscape so that they can craft effective policies. It's thanks to these allies that many powerful players in business and finance are now actively pushing for climate policies. And where they lead, other corporations will follow. Together, we have the power to radically change corporate behavior, make good on the Paris Agreement, and allow governments to finally take the action we need on climate change.
Yeah, so sort of going into what the video touched on, we look at different actors and what sort of role they have in corporate influence. So this could be from companies who focus on lobbying, sort of branding and greenwash, to industry associations who often speak on behalf of economies and sectors and are real powerful lobbyists that take much more regressive positions. And this can also include like an ecosystem of much less transparent entities such as think tanks. And it's also to sort of appreciate where the sort of climate change space and lobbying has moved on from. So around 10 to 20 years ago, you'd think that the tactics sort of surrounded denying climate change science, whereas now it's much more shifted to entities looking to delay action and policies and they tend to focus on arguments such as the economy, jobs, and competitiveness. And really briefly, this slide sort of shows an example of the sort of mapping we do, and you have sort of the top right-hand quadrant where you have more progressive companies, and the much more aggressive ones in the bottom left-hand quadrant. And then also you have some really powerful companies and entities that engage really limitedly on climate policy, which I guess is worrying as well. And we use this analysis in all of our reports and briefings, and it's fed back to key stakeholders such as shareholders and investors. Just finally, a really quick example of sort of work we do and how it gets picked up. So we supply data analysis that can be picked up by different groups of stakeholders, including media and climate advocacy groups and NGOs. So for example, our analysis recently on lobbying on the EU's taxonomy and green financing was referenced by a piece later released by NGO Greenpeace, and later on, as in last week, that was then retweeted and shared by Greta Thunberg. Just sort of example of what gets picked up. Yeah, so moving on from InfluenceMap, I'll touch on the important skills that I learned from the course and how it influenced my job applications and current role. I start with what EPI really offered was a solid and in-depth understanding across broad topics. So I come from an economics background. I was particularly interested in renewable energy and development in lower middle income countries. I looked at mini grid policy in my thesis, specifically on Ethiopia. But what the course offered me was a very broad understanding of different topics. So for example, doing a module run by Professor Eakins that looked at EU and international climate policy really enabled me then to sort of broaden what jobs I was applying for, and in the end got a role that utilizes these skills. And now I focus on EU policies such as the net zero 2050 target, European Union emissions trading scheme, and the 55% greenhouse gas emission reduction target for 2030. And I would never have really thought a year ago that I would see myself working in this area, given my interest, but having those skills has really sort of given me more confidence and strengthened my skill set. Also, I think the course offers a real good combination of coursework, exams, and research. And what it gives you is an opportunity to develop different skills in different environments. So for example, this could be well-evidenced written pieces such as essays, presenting in small groups, writing blogs, or even operating specialist software. And I think that really stands out in job applications, because in specific projects, you might be able to work across different teams and show that you have all these different skills. So personally, I really struggled with Excel and software prior to the course. And the course then provided these sort of beginner and intermediate Excel classes. And as a result of that, I then chose to do a modeling module. And now I feel much more confident should in my role I have to do any programming or modeling. And finally, something I think that gets glossed over a lot is guest speakers and seminars. I think the staff do really well to put on a range of guest speakers in all the modules. And it's not just about networking to try and find job opportunities, but also as a student, you get a real chance to understand if that industry or company is a real good fit for you, if it's something you want to spend time on doing an application for, if you think maybe it's not the right fit for me. Yeah, so got a couple of quick tips, hopefully, that will help you finding employment or internship opportunities. I'd firstly say be flexible. It's really easy to get bogged down if you can't find something in one industry, but often it can be a lot easier to relocate once you get that experience or move within a sector, be that the energy sector, environmental or climate change space. And many of the skills are transferable. So once you get your foot in the door, it's a real good opportunity then to move around. The second thing I'd say is really key is it's all about quality and not quantity of applications. You could, for example, send a lot of general CVs out, LinkedIn easy apply, but that's nowhere near going to get the same traction as you taking time and spending a lot more sort of careful and willing to tailor your CV and cover letters to job descriptions and person specifications for each role. And I think that's really obvious looking at it from the HR side. So if you take your time in your applications, hopefully then you'll get more success. I'd say lastly as well, all experience is valuable. So really think hard about what sort of skills you've learned from volunteering, education, I think companies are more willing now to sort of appreciate different experiences. There's not one route into a job all the time. So yeah, be sure to sort of demonstrate positive skills and competencies. And finally, really quickly, I'd just like to stress that it is a really difficult situation right now, and it can be challenging and stressful job hunting. So it's just really important to try and stay positive and realize the progress you've made in this course, not get bogged down, and hopefully over time the right opportunity will present itself. Thanks for listening.